Hello, everybody. My name is Rodica Gelca. I'm a research assistant professor in the Department of Environmental Toxicology. I am also affiliated with the Climate Science Center here at Texas Tech University. You have seen me around last year organizing this seminar. I'm going to talk about the impact of climate change on surface water quality. And this study is a part of a big project we conducted here at Texas Tech. And the project tried to explain why are the golden algae blooming in some of Texas reservoirs. A short introduction to golden algae. They appeared in North America for the first time in 1985 in Pecos River, here very close to us. And nowadays they are spread to 5 river basins in Texas and in 22 other states. The big concern about golden algae is that they produce toxins which are lethal to aquatic animals, especially to fish. In the last 11 years, about 30 million fish were killed by golden algae, and this caused huge losses, about tens of millions of dollars in lost revenue. In our study, we want to see if climate change has any impact on parameters important for golden algae growth, like water temperature and nutrients. For this study, we selected about 57 water reservoirs across the state of Texas. They are shown by blue dots in the map. And around each reservoir, we selected about 10 weather stations close or upstream from each reservoir. And we obtained data about 24 water quality parameters for each reservoir, and daily maximum and minimum temperatures, and 24 hours cumulative precipitation for each weather station. First of all, we wanted to see if there is any climate change across the state of Texas. And for this, we did a trend analysis in air temperature and precipitation for the last 50 years, from 1960 to 2010, where we calculated some climate indicators like average temperatures and precipitation. And here in these maps, the red dots show positive trends, and the blue dots show negative trends. And the size of the dot shows the strength of the trend. And here in the left for you corner, we have average annual temperature, where we have mostly positive trends across the state. And next to it is average temperature during summer. In the lower corner, we have average temperature during winter. And also we have a coldest day of the year. And all these indicators show an increase in air temperature across the state of Texas. For precipitation, the parameters which show significant trends are the number of dry days with precipitation less than 0.01 inches and the precipitation intensity. For number of dry days, we see predominantly negative trends, but also positive trends, showing that at most of the weather stations, the number of dry days are decreasing, and precipitation intensity is increasing, especially in the east part of the state. And then we wanted to see if there is any change in water quality parameters, and because most of the parameters didn't have enough data to be able to calculate trends, we selected a few parameters. And here I'm showing water temperature, dissolved oxygen, pH, phosphorus, sulfate, and chloride. For water temperature, you can see that the trends are mostly positive, but they are moderate, weak trends, showing an increase in water temperature. Dissolved oxygen, we have also positive and negative trends. They are not very consistent over all weather stations. And in pH, we see an increase in pH at some weather stations. Sorry, some reservoirs. Here I'm talking about reservoirs. And we see also some negative trends. If we move to parameters showing salinity of water reservoirs, we see that phosphorus has very strong positive trends, showing increase in phosphorus concentration in water. And phosphorus is coming especially from fertilizers used in agriculture. But since 1980, it was no increase in phosphorus containing fertilizer use. And the explanation for increase in phosphorus concentration could be the accumulation of phosphorus in water in sediments of the reservoirs. Next is sulfate and chloride. And we can see very strong positive trends in the west part of the state, the blue dots, and especially negative trends in the east part. The main source for chloride and sulfate is the soil, but also they are components of oil extraction residues. So this could explain why in the West Texas the concentration of sulfate and chloride are increasing. And okay, we saw that there is a climate change over the state of Texas, and water quality is changing too. But we don't know if it's the climate which is causing this variation in water quality parameters. To see if the climate is responsible for these changes, we did a correlation analysis for between water quality and climate indicators. Here we have water temperature. We calculated for climate indicators a few averages and extremes for different period of times, for 2 weeks, for 4 weeks, 6 months, 3 months. And what we see here in the right part, we see a very strong correlation between water temperature and air temperature, which we expected. Of course, water temperature depends on air temperature. And we have some negative correlation for numbers of days with temperature below freezing. Of course, a small number of days brings high temperatures, so the negative correlation is from there. And to our surprise, water temperature is positively correlated with precipitation, which means that when it rains, water temperature in reservoirs is getting warmer. Our explanation is that precipitation across the state of Texas is distributed especially in summer months, when it's very hot, the ground is very hot, and the precipitation runoff brings hot water to reservoirs and cause increase of water temperature there. But for phosphorus, we didn't find many climate indicators showing correlations. There are a few strong correlations, but they are not very consistent over all reservoirs. And we concluded that phosphorus increase in reservoirs is not caused by variation in climate. For chloride, we have here a strong positive correlations with temperature-related indicators, which show increase in chloride concentration when it is hot, which is explained by evaporation of water and which concentrate salts. And with precipitation is a negative correlation in the left part of the plot. And this is explained by dilution of salts by precipitation. And here's the same thing for sulfate. Positive correlation with temperature and negative correlation with precipitation. Our conclusions are that the global climate change is expected to bring warmer temperature, more frequent high temperature extremes, and more frequent heavy precipitation events, and possibly more frequent dry days. And also, we think that air temperature and precipitation can affect water temperature and salinity in Texas reservoirs. And we expect golden algae blooms in Texas reservoirs to be caused by the nutrient concentration increase, and which is caused by climate change and human activities. And also, in future, we expect climate change will impact aquatic biota, the local economy, water availability and treatment, and recreational activities through the state of Texas. And here some acknowledgements. And that's it. Thank you.
Question.
2 questions. Number 1, where does golden algae come from? Is that a DNA change in other kinds of algae responding to heat? So you have, like in bacteria, you have a modification as the algae cells respond to the change in heat. And then the second one, and I don't know how you could measure it, if there are dams on some of these systems, do you have any idea what might happen if you have a significant rainfall and then a dam, especially say on the Colorado River, releases a lot of water, and so that changes the makeup of the water downstream? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, for the first question related to DNA, I haven't seen any study done on this, and what I found is that golden algae bloom is caused by shifting the species distribution. So they are predominant toward compared to other species. So and these toxins probably destroy all the species, and they win the competition for growing. And for the second question, if yes, if it's a lot of rain and the dam is released, this could clean the golden algae from the reservoir. So the stream flow is very important in this case. So if it's a long period of time without rain and the water is staying in the reservoir without any movement, this will increase the chance for golden algae bloom. Did I answer your question?
That makes sense. And that's sick humor because we want to store more water, but the longer you store the water, if there's these temperature increases, then you're fighting a negative reaction.
Yes.
Other questions?
Have you looked into the parameter of urbanization versus rural areas and effect on temperature and reservoirs? I'm thinking that a watershed that has a lot of urban or even city and the heat trapping associated with cities, if that could, now you mentioned the runoff hitting the ground and warming. It might be actually warmer in coming off the urban landscape than
That's right.
I'm not sure if we have reservoirs very close to urban area, so probably they are not
That's
that
why
much
I'm-
affected
Yeah.
by this environment, the urban environment.
I actually witnessed it firsthand at Possum Kingdom. The temperature went up 7 degrees Fahrenheit overnight, the light temperature after a rainstorm.
Really?
Yeah, from 68 to like 70, like 75. Crazy.
We're going to know the Tino has a good data set on urban and exurban areas within an algae in Mexico. I think it was just recently published, Natasha Israel, was for rheomesthesis. So I think the difference is good.
Ian, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I did actually look at urban versus rural for the lakes when I was doing clustering on the data. And the correlation was much more with where the source of the water. So the water coming off of that had drainages coming from the drier western part, even if the lake was down in the southeast, was more saline and so forth, had higher concentrations than lakes that were fed locally. So it wasn't so much urban versus rural as it was the overall source of the water system.
Great. Thank you, Rodica.